Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. In a Lonely Place is a 1950 American film directed by Nicholas Ray, and it stars Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Graham. It was produced by Bogart's production company called Santana Productions. The storyline goes that Dixon Steele was once a successful screenwriter, but like many other writers in his industry, he had run upon a bit of a rut and hasn't written a hit film for quite some time. He was asked to turn a trashy bestseller into a hit movie, and he goes on to seek out a hat check woman named Mildred Atkinson to recount the story to him so that he doesn't have to read the book. She had already read it, and they do this back at his place. The next day, Steele is informed that this girl that was at his house the night before was found dead that very night. Under the circumstances, coupled with Steele's short temper and violent tendencies, he is immediately pinned as the prime suspect of the murder. The police's efforts and suspicions of Steele complicate matters when he falls for his beautiful neighbor named Laurel Gray. This all leads to a film about heartbreak, distrust, and mystery. It's said that of all the roles that Humphrey Bogart has played, the role of Dixon Steele in this movie came the very closest to portraying the real Humphrey Bogart. The producer of the film, Robert Lord, was terribly worried about having Nicholas Ray direct the film and having Gloria Graham in it too. They were then husband and wife, whose marriage was somewhat on the rocks at that time. The director felt like this was a recipe for disaster. He made Graham sign a contract stipulating that her husband would be entitled to direct, control, advise, and instruct, and even command her actions during the hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day except for Sundays while the filming was going on. Graham was also forbidden to nag, tease, or in any way seek to distract him or influence him while this picture was being made. As filming went on, the director and her decided to separate quietly, trying to keep everything a secret, fearing that one of them would be replaced. The director, Ray, slept on the studio set, saying that he needed to work late on preparation for the remainder of the film. This seemed to have worked. Nobody really suspected that their marriage was falling apart right in front of everybody. Lauren Bacall and Ginger Rogers were considered for the role of Laurel Gray, but Humphrey Bogart naturally wanted his wife to play the role opposite him. But Warner Brothers had a contract with her, and they wouldn't release her from that legal binding. Ginger Rogers was reportedly the producer's first choice, but Nicholas Ray, the director, convinced them that his own wife, Gloria Graham, would be the right choice for the role. Now, Robert Warwick plays a part in the film that seems very minor, but his acting ability is front and center. He steals every scene that he's in. He plays a drunk thespian that Humphrey Bogart loves, and that's basically what the truth really was. Humphrey Bogart had worked with him in 1922 in a stage play called Drifting. Bogart never forgot the kindness that this actor showed for him when he was a very young, struggling actor, and he made them specifically write this role for Warwick, who was at that time struggling himself. Now, there's a moment in the trailer for the film that doesn't appear in the final cut. As Laurel is talking to the detective at the end of the movie, Dixon starts to leave. In the lost moment, Laurel calls out Dix's name, and they have one last embrace on the steps before he descends. A real interesting bit of trivia is that Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Graham were 24 years apart in age, but they both died at the same age of 57. Now, one of the main thematic lines in the film is when Steele states, "I was born when she kissed me, I died the day she left me, but I lived while she loved me." This line went on to inspire the hit song from the year 2000 that was done by the country band Rascal Flatts. That tune was titled "While You Loved Me." Laurel goes on to repeat that last part of the phrase as the final line in the movie. Now, there's a scene where you see Humphrey Bogart preparing to cut a grapefruit for Laurel. He looks at the knife that he's going to use, and the knife is curved, so he straightens it out, not knowing that it's supposed to be curved, which is pretty understandable, seeing how the company that developed it, Conklin Products Corporation, filed for a patent application for this type knife in 1947, just 3 years before the film actually takes place. That patent was originally granted in 1953. In the original ending and the final shooting script, Dix actually did kill Laurel in the heat of their argument. Martha comes and discovers the body as Dix silently types his script. Later on, when his detective friend comes to arrest him, Dix says that he's almost done with the script. There's a close-up of the last page of the script, echoing those phrase words that Dix said to Laurel. "I was born when she kissed me, I died when she left me, and I lived a few weeks while she loved me." It's said that this scene was filmed for the movie, but before it could be shown to test audiences, the director, Nicholas Ray, shot a new ending because he wasn't pleased with the scripted ending. He didn't want to think that violence was the only way out of this situation. He cleared the set, including Lauren Bacall, who was there visiting her husband on the set at the time. Everybody except for Humphrey Bogart, Gloria Graham, and Art Smith were asked to leave. Art Smith went on to not be used for that final scene, but the only ones that were around were the cameraman and the sound people. They improvised this ending that you see in the final cut of the film. There were also some real subtle details that were left on the cutting room floor that point to Dix's innocence early on, including a shot of Mildred's boyfriend following her home, and one of Laurel clearly seeing Mildred leave, showing that she was telling the truth to Captain Lochner in the interrogation scene. Though the title and the characters in the film are based on Dorothy Hughes's novel, the biggest difference between the book and the movie is that in the movie, Dixon Steele, though violent, is only accused of murder, while in the book, he's a serial killer and a rapist. The director felt that he needed to make this change to make it more interesting, pointing out that all of us have a violent streak inside of us, rather than focusing on a psychotic mass murder film. Now, Gloria Graham at this time was the go-to actress for directors who needed a girl that was a real femme fatale, but her scandalous personal life led to a massive fall from grace for Hollywood and all of her fans. They couldn't forgive her for being caught in the bedroom with her 14-year-old stepson. This was initially kept buried from the headlines, but eventually it came out. This led to her going from living in a mansion next to Humphrey Bogart to her suddenly chasing stage roles in Britain holed up in really cheap hotels. This lovely, faded screen siren spent the final days of her life battling cancer in a house in Liverpool, being cared for by the parents of her ex-boy toy lover, Peter Turner. She ended up passing away October 5th, 1981. If you've never seen In a Lonely Place, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's definitely one of my favorite Humphrey Bogart films. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.